500 years ago, Protestant reformer Martin Luther argued that three estates, Drei Stände, lie at the foundation of a just and orderly society: marital families, religious communities, and political authorities. Parents in the home, pastors in the church, princes in the state. These, said Luther, are the three authorities whom God appointed to represent justice and mercy in the world, to protect peace and liberty in earthly life. Household, church, and state, these are the three institutional pillars on which to build social systems of education, charity, and economics. Family, faith, and freedom, these are the three things that people will die for. In the half-millennium since Luther, scholars have propounded all manner of variations on this three estates theory, many increasingly abstracted from Luther's overtly Christian worldview. Early modern covenant theologians, both Christian and Jewish, describe the marital, confessional, and political covenants that God calls human beings to form, each directed to interrelated personal and public goods and goals. Social contract theorists differentiated the three marital, social, and political contracts that humans enter as they move from the state of nature into an organized society protective of their God-given natural rights. Early anthropologists posited three stages of development of civilization, from family-based tribes to priest-run theocracies to fully organized states. Sociologists distinguished the three main forms and forums of authority: traditional authority that begins in the home, charismatic authority that is exemplified in the church, and legal authority that is discharged by the state. And legal historians outline three stages of development of legal norms, from the habits and rules of the family to the customs and canons of religion to the statutes and constitutions of the state. More than a century ago, however, scholars began to flatten out this hierarchical theory of social institutions and to emphasize the foundational role of other institutions besides the family, church, and state in shaping public and private life and character. Sociologists like Max Weber emphasized the shaping powers of technical rationality, exemplified especially in new industry and scientific education and market economics. Legal scholars like Otto von Guericke emphasized the critical role of non-state legal associations, Genossenschaften, as he called them, in maintaining a just social, political, and legal order historically and today. Catholic social teachings doctrine emphasized the essential task of mediating social units between the individual and the state to cater to the full range of needs and interests and rights and duties of individuals. Calvinist sphere sovereignty theories argued that not only the three classic institutions of family, church, and state, but also the social spheres of art and labor and education, economics, agriculture, recreation, and so much more should enjoy a level of independence, of sovereignty from others, especially from an overreaching church or an overreaching state. Today, in much of the West, we have moved from the classic three estates theory of early modern Christian society to a 10 estates theory of post-Christian pluralistic society. These 10 modern estates or social institutions are the traditional spheres of family, religion, politics, as well as old institutions like law and education and markets and military. But also included now are the newly prominent social spheres of scientific and academic research and healthcare and the media. The actual empirical forms of each of these powerful social systems and the soft normative systems beneath and between them can and do vary greatly, even in the relatively homogeneous societies of Europe and North America, South Africa, and Australia, which have been our principal laboratories. But 10 social systems, in one form or another, are pillars of most advanced pluralistic societies. And it's worth mentioning those 10 anew. family systems of love and procreation, religious systems of ritual and doctrine, political systems of authority and liberty, legal systems of justice and order, economic systems of trade and property, media systems of communication and news, educational systems of teaching and scholarship, research institutions of science and technology, healthcare systems for public and private well-being, and military systems to provide security and protection. These 10 pervasive social systems lie at the foundation of modern advanced societies, and they anchor the vast pluralities of individuals, associations, and soft and hard social interactions that might happen to exist at any given time in any given place. Each of these social systems, our project has discovered, has internal value systems and powerful normative codes and customs that help to shape not only their members, but ultimately each individual's and society's morality and character. The normative network created by these social spheres has become more shifting and fragile in recent years, as Professor Welker has said, especially since traditional social systems like religion and the family have eroded in their durability and power, and other social systems like academic research and healthcare, the market, the media, and the military have become ever more powerful. And the hard right turn in recent European and North American politics will create further social systems, sometimes catastrophically so. The aim of our 6-year project and of this concluding conference together is to explore the realities and potentials of these core social systems to provide moral orientation and character formation in our day. What can, do, and should these social spheres, separately and together, do in shaping the moral character of late modern individuals, who by nature and by culture and by constitutional guarantees are free and equal in dignity and rights? What are and should be the core educational functions and moral responsibilities of each of these social spheres to their members and to broader societies? How do we better understand and better influence the complex interactions among individuals and the normative binding power of these social systems and the creativity of civil groups and institutions sometimes directly juxtaposed? How can we map and measure the different hierarchies of values that govern each of these social spheres and their interconnections? How do we negotiate boundaries and conflicts once one social sphere encroaches on the other or seeks to impose its values and rationalities on individuals at the cost of the common good? These are some of the guiding questions that we have explored and will explore with scholars from the humanities and social sciences and natural sciences, as well as the professions of theology, law, business, medicine, and more. And while our laboratory has been and will continue to be principally Western, pluralistic, liberal societies, the modern forces of globalization will soon make these issues of social pluralism and moral character formation a concern for every culture and religion around the world. Given especially the power of global social media, entertainment, and sports, the pervasiveness of global finance and business and trade and law, and the perennial global worries over food, healthcare, environmental degradation, and disaster, both natural and human-made. Professor Welker has already told us a bit about the impact of religion on character formation, and this afternoon we'll hear from some of our other leading experts on the impact of 8 of the other 10 spheres that we have taken under advisement in this project. But allow me to use my last couple of minutes to describe a bit about the impact of law on character formation. In its broadest sense, law consists of all the written and unwritten norms that govern human conduct. Moral commandments, family rules, church canons, state statutes, commercial codes, communal customs, local conventions, international covenants, and many others. All of these laws on the books and in action help to shape the morality and character of persons and peoples by encouraging and directing, prescribing and proscribing, supporting and facilitating, rewarding and punishing, limiting and nudging their choices and conduct, relationships and institutions. While the impact of the state's laws is our principal focus in this project, it is worth remembering that the internal laws of non-state associations remain critical sources of moral formation and ethical education for individuals and groups today. A parent's order to their bickering children, "Stop fighting now," carries much more moral weight than the state's criminal prohibitions on assault and battery. A church's rules about worship and liturgy shape religious and moral habits much more than the state's constitutional guarantees about religious freedom. The conduct codes of schools or workplaces offer far more pervasive moral direction for their members than state laws about education or labor relations. Ideally, in modern liberal societies, the laws of the state support, but do not supplant, the internal laws of non-state associations. Indeed, these non-state laws are critical bulwarks of liberty and morality against an perennially overreaching state legal system. Nonetheless, today, modern liberal societies and their members depend upon state laws to provide basic social order, peace, security, crime control, stable infrastructures, reliable markets, accountable government, peaceful transfers of power, elementary due process, fair judicial tribunals, and fundamental rights protections for individuals and groups. Having this basic legal order in place is a precondition to human survival, let alone moral flourishing. Aristotle said this already in his Politics when he wrote, "Just as man is the best of animals when completed, when separated from law and adjudication, he is the worst of all." James Madison made this same point 2 millennia later, when he wrote, "If men were angels, no law or government would be necessary. If angels were to govern men, neither external nor internal controls would be necessary. But in framing a government which is to be administered by men, over men, sorry to be so male, experience has taught mankind the necessity of auxiliary precautions," said Madison. The issue has always been how far these auxiliary precautions of state law should go. After all, Western history is littered with grim examples of political tyranny and terrorism and totalitarianism, with state laws and legal institutions used as sharp and sinister instruments of control and coercion and brutality. Even in the past century, purportedly modern liberal states, embracing human rights for all, have sometimes directed their laws to support slavery and apartheid and genocide and colonialism and persecution and violence and racism and bigotry, intolerance, chauvinism, homophobia, and many other shameful forms of moral failure and injustice at home and abroad. These proclivities to legal and political abuse have at minimum underscored the need for modern liberal societies to limit closely the roles and the rules of state law and to protect zealously the rights and liberties of individuals and non-state associations. Even so, there is enduring wisdom in the ancient Greek philosopher Xenophilus' remark, echoed by Hegel, no less, and lifted up by Rüdiger Bittner, our friend, that, quote, "the best way to educate people is to make them citizens of a city with good laws, end quote. That is still true today, and let me give you 3 quick examples, because I know lunch is beckoning. First, the criminal laws of the modern state echo and enforce many traditional moral teachings. Every modern state law has variations on ancient thou shalt and thou shalt not commands, which they back with criminal sanctions. Do not kill, do not steal, do not bear false witness, do not covet or violate your neighbor's household. Do not rape or assault or batter or kidnap your neighbor. Do not commit incest, bestiality, polygamy, or other sex crimes. Nurture your children, repay your debts, honor your promises, respect the authorities, pay your taxes, register your properties, answer your conscriptions, obey the court's orders. Modern penal laws are filled with such commandments. They are reminder claims of our basic moral duties, normative guardrails to keep us roughly on course. They fulfill what classic Protestant theologians called the civil use of the law, fostering a civil morality, a morality of duty, even if coerced. Second, between and beyond these apodictic poles of thou shalt and thou shalt not commands, the modern liberal state usually operates with softer and subtler methods of encouraging and rewarding preferred moral behavior and discouraging or impeding immoral behavior. Nudging is what behavioral scientists call this common legal strategy. Particularly in its vast network of regulatory laws, the modern liberal state commends, licenses, and sometimes even pays for or rewards all kinds of morally desirable behavior. Think of getting a license to marry or to open a business, or voting or running in a state election, or getting a free vaccine or medical procedure, or going to college on a state scholarship. In turn, the state imposes taxes or fines or withholds state benefits or opportunities for those who indulge in morally undesirable behavior. Think of smoking, or not wearing a seatbelt, or dropping out of school, or not paying your child support. The theory of nudging stipulates that over time, the desirable behavior encouraged by the state will become more customary, even natural or reflexive among citizens, and the undesirable behavior will be viewed as aberrant and perhaps even socially stigmatized. Third, modern constitutional laws foster moral values and ethical education about good government, good citizenship, and good neighborliness. Think of the powerful new European constitutions enacted after the tragedies of World War II, starting with the Basic Law of Germany of 1949, which has striking moral and communal premises set out at the very beginning, and I quote, "Conscious of their responsibility before God and man, inspired by their determination to promote a world peace as an equal partner in a unified Europe, the German people, in the exercise of their constituent power, declare, number one, human dignity shall be inviolable. To respect and protect it shall be the duty of all state authorities. And number two, the German people therefore acknowledge inviolable and inalienable human rights as the basis of every community of peace and justice in the world." Think of the powerful human rights documents that now govern modern liberal societies. The many constitutions of the European Union, the European Convention on Human Rights, the American Civil Rights Act and Bill of Rights before, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the UK Human Rights Act, and hundreds of other instruments that detail the rights and liberties that all persons and institutions deserve and must enjoy. Think of the landmark cases in high courts in Western lands. In the United States, cases like Brown v. Board of Education in 1954 or Obergefell versus Hodges in 2015 that sought to end racism and homophobia for good. Think of state education laws that help habituate the next generation of citizens in the basic values of democratic citizenship. Think of more prosaic but essentially constituted and constitutionally protected tax laws that facilitate various forms of distributive justice, of wealth and resources to those who need more, the poor, the widow, the orphan, and the stranger of ancient days. These and other examples illustrate that modern state law does and can still foster character formation and ethical education and communication of values in late modern pluralistic societies. State laws and moral norms interact somewhat, as in a Venn diagram, though they don't and should not and must not overlap entirely. State laws have many other sources and goals beyond morality, and moral norms have many other forms and forums for their articulation and implementation beyond those of the state. The state and its laws help to cultivate private and public morality, but they must and can do only so much in the moral field. Late modern pluralistic societies also need broader communities and narratives to stabilize and deepen and exemplify the natural inclinations and rational norms of responsibility and sociability and morality that all humans have written on their hearts, if not embedded in their genes. These societies need models and exemplars of love and fidelity, of trust and sacrifice, of commitment and community, to give these inborn natural teachings further content and further coherence. They need the help of sundry stable institutions well beyond the state, and sometimes in opposition to it. Families, neighborhoods, churches, schools, charities, hospitals, recreational, athletic, artistic, and creative associations, and much, much more. To teach both the minimal morality of duty that keeps the sinners within all of us at bay, and the morality of aspiration that brings out the angels in all of us and fosters love of God, neighbor, and self. Thank you very much.